Begin.
Hello, this is our sig-service-catalog weekly meeting. If you are new to the SIG, feel free to write your name in on the attendees. I'll give you a link to our agenda. If there's something that you maybe came to talk about and it's not on there, throw it on the end and we will make sure to hit it. Otherwise, I'm going to jump right into the big topic for the day, which is Jonathan and me and Doug and a bunch of other people have been working on a official charter for our SIG. So we took the template from the steering committee, and then Jonathan took basically everything about how our SIG works today and put it in there, and then layered on top of that in commits is individual changes to that propose that we do things a little bit differently. Some of that just brings us more in line with what has been suggested by the steering committee. Another of it is just like, how do we explain how to do things like become a maintainer, become a chair, decide that you hate service catalog entirely and run away. Things like that are being put into the charter. We're using lazy consensus for this, or at least trying to. So if you follow the mailing list, you'll have seen the message about that. So please leave comments on that pull request. And if you don't mind, I just want to go through, like, at a high level, some of the very exciting things inside our charter. Oh, thanks. Perfect. As far as our scope goes, the key thing that we kind of hammered out at our meeting last week was that we're trying to be a platform that adheres to the Open Service Broker API spec, but we don't really get into how do you implement, operate, run, and whatnot a broker. And then otherwise, we interact with the OSB working group to kind of provide reality checks, feedback, feature requests, bugs, that kind of stuff. We have maintainers. We don't do what Kubernetes does, and the point of this isn't to change it to that in the first go. If we'd like to adopt what they're doing, maybe that would be in secondary steps to our charter. Essentially, maintainers, approve, do PRs, do pull requests, help out on Slack, and label issues and add new issues and help people out. Some of the things that got clarified a little bit in the charter is how do you get to be a maintainer? So you're nominated by a chair. And if for some reason someone isn't really doing the job of a maintainer anymore, they can be nominated to be removed. So what are chairs? Chairs are maintainers who have an additional set of project administrative roles. They are not more awesome or powerful than a maintainer. They just have taken on the care and feeding of our SIG to make sure that we are rolling smoothly. And they also are responsible for giving our updates to, like, the SIG community meeting, SIG leadership, stuff like that. A big change that we did is incorporated some of the decision-making processes from the upstream templates from the steering committee. How to make decisions. We kind of seem to have, like, different ideas about, like, sometimes we make a decision this way, sometimes that. So I put out there as part of the proposal to do lazy consensus with a fallback to a two-thirds majority vote, which I'll refer to later on as lazy two-thirds. And it's just for simplicity so that you're not always like, hey, how do we decide things each time? This kind of lays it out. You can nominate, other chairs can nominate new chairs. Chairs can step down if they want to. Maybe they've moved on at their company or gone somewhere else to do exciting things. Before they step down, they can submit somebody else and propose that they, like a replacement, and they get to vote on their replacement, but it's the same thing, those lazy two-thirds. Chairs would need to be active in the project administration role on top of being a maintainer. And if they kind of do other things for a very long period of time, the chairs could vote them off the island, essentially. And then also, this is something that wasn't in the template, but Paul pointed out that we really need in the charter, is how to propose changes to the charter. So I just put in that chairs can do it at any time, and it just needs to have the same resolution process of everything else. Aaron suggested emeritus chairs. The idea being that after someone is put in, say, like 2 years of hard labor on making our SIG amazing and keeping it rolling, when they're ready to step down, this is a way to indicate and thank them for all the past service without forcing them basically to cut off all ties to the SIG. They no longer have chair responsibilities or privileges, but they're still mentioned, and they're always welcome to hang with us at KubeCon and stuff like that. And then security contact is a new role. We don't have one yet. This is something that is being rolled out to all the SIGs, and the text of this is pretty much copy paste minus some musts and shoulds, the capitalization of that kind of stuff, basically right out of there. And they're the person who essentially is on point to hear top secret security stuff related to our SIG and keep their mouth shut about it until we can get things patched. If you want to know more, read the embargo policy. We really need, that's another thing on the agenda, but I'll just say it now, we really need someone to step up, submit a pull request, and put their name in here. You should be a maintainer in order to be a security contact, and that's it. So if someone would like to try that out, please do so, because we can't really mark it as done and tell the leadership about that until we get at least one person in there. Organizational management just goes over how we've been doing everything so far. It has that one extra provision that we talked about a couple weeks ago now, about when you're representing the SIG officially, like you're doing like, this is the SIG deep dive at KubeCon, or this is the SIG 101, come be a contributor for our SIG kind of thing. Give everyone else on the in our SIG a chance to throw in extra information, fact check, go, hey, maybe you didn't know about this as well, that kind of thing, so that everyone's pretty pumped about how we're being represented. And we talk about our weekly releases and kind of how we do things. Our technical processes, this works through, like, for example, right now we use Looks Good to Me 1 and 2, and I know we've talked about changing it to do full prow, basically. My plan for now is just to document what we do, and whenever we manage to get switched over to prow, we'll go through the process that's defined in the charter for changing the charter, and we'll just update that line with how we do things, say, a month from now. Boop, boop, boop. And then otherwise, I've gone through and documented all of our various assets. So who has control of our source repository, our Helm repository, Travis, Jenkins, everything. One of the things we noted is that some people have inconsistent access to these things. So we'd like to get everyone who is a chair access to each one of these things, so that a chair can always kick a build or fix a messed up image in Quay or something like that, or force a Netlify build or things like this. So we've been working to fix that. If there's any other assets, let me know. This is all I'm aware of. And that's it. Are there any questions or concerns about the charter people would like to argue about in real time?
Do we have a list of all the people and their various things? I kind of taken the idea from, we probably want to write it down.
Do you mean because our owner's file, is that what you mean, or something else?
Yeah, is that what, yeah, we should probably either mention that or, have a specific whatever, maintainers, chairs file. Either.
Yeah, right now, I don't think we document the chairs anywhere but on the website.
Yeah.
And the maintainers is not the same thing as the owner's file at the moment.
Right. So I'll leave a comment on the PR then.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe we just need a quick, let's fix our owner's file.
Yeah, that might be it too. I don't.
Ratify the charter.
Okay.
Cool. If there's nothing else about our charter, Morgan, would you like to talk about some issue that you added to our, it's a dingleberry issue.
That's a lovely image. No, I just wanted to, I didn't realize Paul was away, so we can probably leave it until he's got time to look at it. I just, I feel like we discussed this in the past. I just don't know when, and I couldn't find it in our document history, and I was just gonna close it, but yeah, you know, he has it, so I didn't want to just close it. So if anybody has the other opinion, maybe I'll just close it.
I would encourage that if we ping people and we don't hear after a certain period of time, like some reasonable period of time, to just close it, and you know, I'm sure people can reopen it if they still, you know.
So what's the proper way to delete to delete the generated stuff? Because I actually have used this target before.
Okay, well, I've never used it, and it's not in any of the documentation or anything, as far as I can tell. Well, it's in the one documentation. It is in the dev doc, I think, somewhere, but.
Yeah, because like the name implies, I've used it to kill the generated stuff when I wanted to force it to regenerate.
Okay. I'll assign it to you, Doug.
Well, great, thanks. So,
done.
Do we still check in our generated code? I assume we do,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
Do we still need to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Darn it. Okay, never mind then. Then I think we do need a way to do a full clean, and that's what this one does.
Aaron, yeah?
I wanted to go back to the charter. In the Google group message, I think the ratification was like lazy consensus sometime in May. Is that going to get updated to like June, or what's the plan basically?
That's a good point. That is probably not the date.
I think she's already approved it. You just don't know it.
I can't do calendars. I meant June 19th. I will make a comment on that. I wanted to give us 2 cycles of these meetings and give everyone time if they were on vacation or things like that to look at it. So let me, I can't fix it, but I will reply back to it. Thanks for noticing that.
That's a good catch. The only other thing I would add to that is, you know, if there's a lot of whatever, maybe we push that date. But
yeah, the idea with the lazy consensus is that if no one says anything to object and we kind of address all feedback, then that's what we're happy with. If there's still active concerns, we can extend it or just have a vote. There's a definition of lazy consensus, I thought, but I'll link that too to explain it a little bit better.
Yeah, just got to be a little careful because lazy consensus when in the summertime is a little bit interesting because people going on vacation and stuff, they may not notice it. So it may feel like we're rushing things through people when they're not even around to notice the email. Just something to think about.
Yeah, good point. I've seen other SIGs have a really short turnaround, like 72 hours. And I was kind of leaning towards more like a minimum of 2 weeks so that like if someone's out, they're able to catch something. Yeah. Anything longer than that, I think almost if we expect people to be like seriously out for a month or longer than that, maybe we need to have them say how they'd like to be reached and maybe we poke them.
No, I think what you have is fine. I was just raising the thing that we just need to be careful of what we're doing.
Yeah. And sorry to make that seem scary because I can't remember that June is a 6, not a 5.
I think we shouldn't. Yeah, I think we need more people if someone being out for a month is a problem.
Yeah, agreed. We need to have enough people that we don't have bus factor problems. Okay. Next up, sounds like this actually isn't a problem, but Nick Chase was asking if we had anything for the 1.11 release notes. I honestly had no clue that we ever had anything for the release notes. So I'm just gonna let them know we have nothing to report at this time. And yeah, leave it at that unless people want to communicate something else. Morgan?
Just there was this one thing that maybe we want to just mention that now. Requires 1.9.
Oh man, good point.
It's
Okay.
sort of a minimum bump thing. I think that might be like the bare minimum of something that somebody, because we're not really included in the actual release in any way. I just think it might be like if somebody checks in once a release cycle,
No, that's a really good point. I had forgotten that hit after that release. So.
And do we know what version they're going to be? Or I guess everybody can always say what was contemporaneously released with the thing, so it doesn't really matter. And we're not going to have any 1.11 dependencies until it's actually out. So I don't. That's really the only thing I can think of.
Okay. Yeah, to be honest, I was really surprised that we ever really, because we don't release and sync with them at all. I was surprised that they were checking in. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they've come by once a release for a while and asked us, oh, give us an update. Oh, give us a release note. It's like, never really have much to say.
Everything's fine. We're all fine. How are you? And then, okay, so unless there's any other things, if there is, ping Nick Chase, but I'll let him know about our minimum. I just want to make people aware, I posted this on the list too, that we have been top secretly road testing some new labels and ways of onboarding new contributors that was so successful that the rest of Kubernetes noticed and asked that we write that up for them so that they can adopt it for main Kubernetes and encourage other SIGs to do the same. So there's now 2 issue labels, help wanted and good first issue. We used to call it good first PR, but the GitHub standard is good first issue, so we're gonna go with that. And the idea is basically that instead of marking something as help wanted because we are stuck on an issue, the goal is to use it in the more common sense across GitHub, which is these are great places for people who aren't core contributors to be able to pick up an issue that has been explained sufficiently that someone can just jump in and help with it. One example is like pricing with a bunch of the CLI issues. They're very straightforward to be able to say, this is the exact behavior we want, and here's the code, and here's the test. So that's basically kind of the idea. And if something can be spelled out to the point where someone doesn't need to know very much at all, to the point where it's very suitable for someone who has never touched our SIG's code before, slap on the good first issue. If you do put that on there though, be prepared for very new people to come on and take that. So keep an eye out for their pull request when it does come through, because they're probably not aware of how looks good to me works, or how to get approval, or when something gets merged, should they squash, whatever. So there may be extra questions coming from people working on good first issues. And the payback for all of this is that we've done a really great job of having new contributors come on and 1, give us positive feedback, and then 2, they aren't then immediately going, wow, that sucked, and never coming back. So the investment on those first couple PRs is paying off, and we're now getting people coming back for the 2nd and 3rd PR and kind of sticking around, which is really the point in putting in all that extra work on those issues. So I'm just making you aware of what they are. If you see stuff that has those labels and they don't have any helpful information that people would need in order to tackle it, either add that info or just strip that label off. We're asking people to do that across all of the Kubernetes repos, actually. It's just not even just our SIG.
Hey, so Carolyn, I was just looking at the definition of help wanted on that link there.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of overlap between help wanted and good first issue, whatever the title was. How would you describe the two? There's a lot of overlap there.
Their good first issue is a subset of help wanted.
Oh, that's not confusing.
Everything that is marked good first issue, it has to be a help wanted, and Prow enforces that. That Nikita added that this weekend. And
that plugin
they
installed?
both serve the same purpose. The idea is that you have these people who are not core contributors and are going to need extra guidance. So help wanted is good for like my first 10 PRs maybe before I get my feet wet. And that good first issue is something where not only is it clear, but we've had a maintainer or someone who's hanging around to give a clear description of what the solution should be so that they're not guessing or wasting a bunch of time on a PR that we immediately reject. And it may provide extra context. It's definitely something that someone could pick up without having to ask for help on the weekend. And usually they're working on the weekend, we're working on the week. So getting all of the questions answered up front makes these especially good first issues for people to grab and work on. Does that kind of clarify for you?
No, but that's okay. Let me go back and reread it. It's just, what's funny is I didn't even realize that one was a subset of the other, and my first reaction was that makes it even more confusing. But let me go back and reread it because maybe I'm just skimming it too quickly.
Sure. And none of this is set in stone. It's just basically SIG contributor experience noticed how many new contributors we're getting and said, what are y'all doing? And so I wrote down what we've been doing, and they were really excited about it and decided to adopt it. So this is what we have been doing since January.
Okay.
Not really a change for us other than the name of the issue label. Cool. It's in test infra. Which plugin does the enforcement? And it's not configured yet. It's /help, and it's explained in here under commands. If you scroll up a little bit, it'll tell you what the proud commands are. Okay. Good first issue and /help, and it will handle the fact that they're a subset of each other. So if you remove help, it'll automatically remove good first issue for you as well. But I think we would need to turn that on for orders. Like I think we had to turn on kitten and dog, didn't we?
Yeah, we've got some on. I'm just not sure which plugin does these. Like I can see the commands. Mm-hmm. The problem is the command is not the plugin name sometimes. And
let me sync up with you after this. I'll show you where the change was, and we can figure out if we need to turn this on.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm not sure /help is a great name for a command, but we'll see.
Yeah. So that's all I've got about that. Morgan, would you like to talk about our helm charts?
So last couple of weeks, we've had problems with the helm chart because the helm chart server was down, and the helm chart server is down because they moved to some different system, and they're relying on the projects to be hooked into that, your project specific system. And so I had a discussion with Vic this morning, and then I left, and we never caught back up, and I didn't get him yet. But basically, we're going to have Travis call our chart pushy thing and do that. So I'm not 100% sure on what the actual steps need to be taken, but I think we have access to Travis. I don't have access to much else, but I think I have access to Travis, so I can continue with this. But he has this document, so he said he might come and leave notes, and he might leave a PR on our repo at some point. I didn't get any time period on that, but I would like to do a release this week, so hopefully I'll catch up with him at some point and see the actual what actual work needs to be done on our side and on the other side.
Hey, Morgan, I had a question about this.
Yes.
Is there a reason why we can't put a token for the publish in our Travis build so that, like, for example, we publish the CLIs when we deploy? Can we do the same for the Helm charts, or is there something about Helm that makes that not work?
I think that's the idea, is now that we're going to be able to do that. I just don't know what token. I don't have a token to give. I don't know what the API is. I don't have any details on exactly how to do that. I think that is though the concept, but I haven't.
Okay, so we won't even need the CI server that Vic's running anymore then.
Right. That's what I'm under the impression that they took it down because they're not using it anymore because they have an actual token that they hand out for people to use to push to that particular GCS bucket or whatever it's called. But I don't have any more details. I sort of got interrupted in the middle of the conversation and I need to finish up. Yes. Any other questions? Okay. Is Niall and Paul is not here? And
I'm here.
Oh, okay. When do you guys have time? Because we need to schedule something so we can talk about this.
I'm pretty open this week.
Okay.
I think it probably depends more on Null.
Okay. How late are you willing to stay up, I guess?
I can make a time that's better for Null, but I would prefer not to go past like 8 o'clock Eastern time in terms of starting. I could do an hour at 8 o'clock Eastern time, like as probably the latest that I could do.
Okay. Let me write that down. Start. Okay, I'm not. Does anybody know if Niall is on vacation or something? I haven't heard anything from him.
No, I don't think so. He and I have been doing handoffs from like his 2 a.m. to my 7 a.m. for the past couple of days. So
okay,
he's on vacation. He's still working.
Okay. Well, if you could, it's 2 a.m. to 7. Okay. Which time zone are you in?
I'm Central.
Okay. I guess that's even earlier for me. It's like 5 a.m. here. Okay.
Oh, I'm just saying that I'm seeing him online. I'm catching him. That's all. Yeah.
No, I understand. I'll send out another couple of emails then, I guess. And I'd really like to get, he was one of the people who was interested. So, okay. And Scott, what about you? Hello? All right, I'll send some more emails then, and I guess that wraps up my portion here.
Cool. Did anyone else have stuff they wanted to chat about or ask about? Otherwise, that's all I have.
Sounds good to me for now.
All right, super speedy. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Yeah.